Hello, I am Kristen Ruetten, and this is my husband, Michael. We have 2 children, Sonia and Wesley. We first started thinking about adoption early on in our marriage. We were struggling to have children of our own at the time, and so we started looking into domestic adoption. And then Sonia came along, and then Wesley came along, so that got put on the back burner, which they were miracle children, by the way. And then we moved to Texas, and so there was a big gap of time there as well. And so the idea of adoption just got put back in our minds for a while. And then I was able to go on a missions trip to India, New Delhi, India, with our church. And our mission was going into really the worst parts of New Delhi and serving the orphans and the widows. It was a medical mission, so we were giving them medicine and giving them food and clothing and washing them and that kind of thing. And I think the Lord really ignited my heart for the need. There's so many widows and orphans around the world. So when I came home, we started talking about what can we do here at home to serve the widows and the orphans, and that the Lord put that in our hearts and just kept reigniting it over and over again. And as we just kind of tried to figure out what that means here in America and in our lives at the time we had 2 little people, what does that look like? What does that mean? And how is the Lord going to use us? Because we wanted to be his hands and feet here and love on kids that are stuck in the system and it's not their fault.
We got into foster care in 2017, primarily based on a Bible verse in James 1:27. Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God our Father means caring for the orphans and the widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you.
The last part of that verse, the world, not letting the world corrupt you, I think in our society here in America, that's comfort. It's being comfortable. And I think a lot of people don't do foster care and adoption because it's not comfortable. The Lord did not come down and sacrifice his life so that we can sit on the couch and be comfortable.
So our first experience, we went to a CPS interest meeting at CPS office, and it was very secular, for lack of a better term. And we kind of walked out of there thinking, is this really something we want to do? Do we really want to get involved and have people in our house all the time? And all the hassles that kind of come with foster care. And so we thought about it and prayed about it, and then went to a meeting at a church, got connected with some Christian organizations that kind of gave us a biblical worldview and kind of walked alongside us and said, yes, you can do this. What you heard was all the negatives. There's lots of positives that need to be kind of incorporated into this. And so we started learning more about it, started taking some classes, get some interest meetings, and then what made it possible for us to do this was finding other people that were like-minded that were going through this with us. So we found some friends locally we took classes with, we got trained with, so that you have somebody to kind of talk about the challenges and the difficulties and the excitement and the opportunities together. We are on our 4th foster child right now. 3 babies and 1 elementary age child. Your average foster child, when they come into your home, is scared, sad, lonely, apprehensive, and with nothing. Foster children are coming to us out of very dangerous situations, whether that's drugs or violence. And just like we don't want the worst aspects of our family portrayed on the internet or known by everyone, we really have to be very careful about their identities and their story to make sure that their security and their privacy is maintained.
So we can't put photographs on the internet unless their picture is blurred. We assumed that when they came to us, they had no one praying for them. Every time I rocked them for nap time or bedtime, I prayed over them the entire time. And we just saw peace. They were sleeping. And one little girl, she didn't even want to eat. We saw her starting to eat. So the Lord's hand has been on them. And even though they are not part of our family anymore, they are our children forever. And so we pray for them consistently all the time, wondering where our little babies are. And what we pray for them is their salvation. That because of the time they spent with us, they know what it is to be in a healthy, God-fearing family, and to be loved. We want their hearts to be with Jesus someday. And we won't, of course, ever know that, but we are always praying for people to step into their lives and pick up where we left off. Our children have learned some incredible lessons about life. All three initial placements, there was drugs involved, which is pretty typical in the foster system. Usually drugs is part of the equation somewhere. And we were able to have conversations about, the Lord puts guidelines. He puts parameters on our lives to protect us. And when we go outside of that, this is what could happen. So our children have learned some really heavy life lessons without having to experience it. They've seen the consequences, as well as we've all learned that it is pretty easy to love a child that's not your own as your own. And I think that is a gift that the Lord gives you when you step into this, because that's not normal. It's not normal to love someone that deeply, that quickly. And I think the Lord has put his hand on all of us.
We have a better understanding for the sacrifice that Christ made for us and his love because of this. Because if we can love a child after a couple days or a couple months, and God knew us before we were born, I can only imagine the love that God has for us.
Following the Lord into adoption or foster care, we didn't know what to expect. And so I didn't know the spiritual journey we would be embarking on. But I think now, all these years in, I look back and it's like it has grown our faith in God more than I would have guessed it would have. Because the system is very broken, and the foster system, and what you think should happen, and all the people that are supposed to advocate for your child don't the way you want them to. We learned early on that we are not in control of what's going on, and we tried to be in control when we were newbies. We tried to be in control, and I think over a few years we realized totally God is in control. I get to be the advocate. I get to share my voice on behalf of this child if they let me. But nonetheless, we have to sit back and let the Lord do his work. Even though we don't understand why it's happening or unfolding the way it is, I think we have to learn over and over again to just surrender these children daily. Whatever happens, Lord, is your will. This is their story you're writing. I get to be a part of it. This is not about us. And I think when we first started, we wanted to add to our family. And now we're at the places, this is not about us.